Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. My name is Karina, and I am a psychic medium out of Calgary, Alberta. So if any of you listened to my last episode, Falling into a Trap, you would know that I had been hacked on Instagram. And I wanted to do a follow-up episode because one of the reasons that this podcast was created was to help others restore their faith in the universe. And seeing as I had my faith recently rattled, I felt like it was super important to explain the little miracle that happened last week. So for those of you that didn't get a chance to listen to last week's episode, basically my account was just hacked and taken over completely. And I was being just bombarded by messages from clients and friends because they were receiving these bogus messages from the hacker asking for help. I know that being hacked is not a major catastrophe, but it was such an odd violation in so many ways that I really can't explain it to anyone else unless you've experienced it yourself. To know that someone had control over my photos, my personal messages to family, friends, and my clients, it just felt so unsettling and awful. Every single day, I sent Instagram a message saying that my account had been hacked, and each time I was led to a link that I had to do a facial recognition video. In the video, you have to look up, down, left, right. You have to basically prove that it's you. And each day I would get an email back from Instagram saying, "Sorry, we couldn't confirm your identity through your video." How frustrating is that? It got to a point where I had made somewhat peace with the account being gone. And every time I thought that the hacker was done messaging people from my account, another set of at least 50 people would message me about it saying, "Why were you messaging me at 3 o'clock in the morning, Karina? Is everything okay? You were asking for help." So there I would be again, messaging all these people back, trying to explain that it wasn't me messaging them at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was just mostly upset because psychics already do have a bad rap, and all I kept thinking was, what if this hacker starts asking people for money for a reading or something? I had many messages from my clients in my inbox that had booked appointments, and sadly, I had no other way to contact them. Most people actually book through my website, but there are some that directly book an appointment through social media. And the fear part of me kept thinking, what if these poor clients message to confirm our appointment and the hacker makes them pay to them or sends them a new email so that they can get scammed that way? So for the entire time that he had control over my account, I prayed. And let me tell you, I prayed hard for divine intervention. I had been fooled, but I didn't want any of the people that trusted me to do an appointment for them to fall into the same trap with this hacker. I really felt so helpless because there was no way that I could go into any of my messages and warn these people that I had had my account taken over. All I could do was try to post about it wherever I could possibly post about it on my other pages and do a full podcast episode with the hope that at least maybe these clients would hear it and know that it wasn't me messaging them that week. I had a really strong gut feeling that I was going to get my account back. But many times I just wanted to give up fighting with Instagram. It was exhausting, mentally, emotionally. I was really getting fed up with trying to prove myself from those videos and also with the emails that I had to send. Anyways, that week and a half really tested me in many ways. I allowed that negativity to get the best of me. I was still able to do my work and channel in a really loving way, but when I wasn't working, I felt as if a dark cloud was suffocating me. It was such an odd feeling. I almost felt like someone had control over me, and it's been a really long time since that has happened in my life. I felt so icky, like really awful, and I'm not even sure I can explain it properly. All I can say is that I felt like it was difficult to see the light. It wasn't about losing control over my account, as I knew that was just a thing. It was more the feeling of a darker power trying to squash my light. So, does that make sense? So anyways, about a week and a half after I had been hacked, I had an aha moment. Now I teach this stuff, but because I had been sucked so far into that negativity, it took me days to even remember what to do to come out of this hold. I had a strong feeling that I really needed to get into a bath and soak in some sea salt. And first of all, I never make the time to relax in a tub anymore. I really just don't have that time or luxury these days. But the message from my guides was really clear. I was told to use the strongest sea salt that I have, which is black Himalayan rock salt. Now, if anyone has ever used it before, oh my God, you would know that it stinks like really badly. It smells like the worst possible sulfur smell that you could ever imagine. And yes, not the most wonderful, peaceful bath, I tell you, but I needed this bath for cleansing purposes only. That's what it was for. So I get in there and I felt the need to put on my favorite clearing and shielding meditation. If I ever feel heavy, it's my go-to. I've been using it for 8 years and it works every single time. So if any of you would like me to send it to you, just DM me and I will forward it and pass it on. It's amazing. Anyways, I'm in this stinky water and I'm following all the steps of the meditation and I'm already starting to feel better. And then once it ended, I felt like I needed to do some Reiki healing on myself. So I put my hands on my chest and I sat there breathing in some beautiful golden healing light, and I started to feel so calm and peaceful in that moment. You know, my life is just so chaotic and sometimes I just forget those moments of self-care. But I really did my best to fill myself up with as much positivity that I could channel. And when I was done, I did the Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness to the hacker. Those 4 simple lines of, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I asked for forgiveness if I had done anything in this lifetime or past that hurt them. I then finally opened up the drain and imagined that all and any negativity was being washed off of me, back down the drain, back to the universe with love. I then rinsed off, yes, with clean water this time, and soaped off the stinky salt from my body. I got all cozy in jammies and then I went to sleep. I slept long and hard for the first time since I had been hacked. Well, the next morning I woke up and I lay in bed and I checked my messages and then I checked my emails. I saw a message from Instagram with the same message as before. They could not confirm my identity. And for a fraction of a second, I felt defeated once again. But something made me keep scrolling in my junk mail. And all of a sudden, I come to another email from Instagram. And I open it up and it says, my identity has been confirmed. And there was a link to click and that would get me back into my account. And from there, I could change all my passwords again and info. I honestly barely even remember doing it. All I knew was that I needed to act fast because this was my chance. So once I got in and got everything secure, I took a deep breath and thanked my guides. And you see, I needed to cut that negative energy off of me because I allowed it to eat me apart. But by me taking back my power the night before, I got my account back that next morning. I was honestly scared to go through my messages and see what sort of communication they had with everyone. I noticed a lot of people had blocked me or unfollowed me, and understandably so, but I also noticed that they started following a bunch of new people as well. So I took a deep breath and I started reading each message one by one. And oh my God, there were messages in there that I read that really hurt me on such a deep soul level. There was one in particular from this really spiritual guy that started following me a little while ago. The hacker had sent him a message that had just said hello. And then this guy wrote back such a nice response saying, hello, and thank you so much for following me back, and Happy New Year. Clearly the hacker had recently started following him from my account. And then he nicely asked how work has been and how my family was doing. And the hacker's response was, I need your help. And the guy asked, of course, what do you need? Now, the hacker sends him the same bogus message that was sent to everyone saying that I was trying to log into my new Instagram page and needed help getting a link. Then the poor guy's response to this was, sorry, no, I can't do that. Create another Instagram account on your phone and send whatever link you want to send to me to yourself and fix it up yourself, you mother effer. So I'm reading this message and I had the biggest lump in my throat. It actually killed me that someone out there thought that I was the scammer. But that wasn't the only negative message. There were so many more. Some people said, why would you ask me that? I barely know you. Go ask your friends or family. Others called me a fraud and told me that I was horrible for scamming people. And some said similar mean things like they were going to unfollow me or block me. So the entire time my eyes were full of tears and I was absolutely defeated. I mean, I try to always be open and as authentic as I possibly can be, and to be accused of such horrible things and be yelled at by strangers that at one point felt drawn to follow me was really tough. This hacker even messaged some of the most amazing mediums that I follow on social media that are well known, and they made it look like I was genuinely needing help. Each negative message that I read was bringing me back to that negative feeling, and I started sinking. But magically, through the power of my spirit guides, they led me to read the most incredible messages. I opened at least 100 of them, where people, most of them either a stranger or barely knowing me, had offered their help. And as I read these messages, my energy started to shift. Strangers were willing to come to my aid, not knowing anything about me, yet willing to offer their help. I went from crying out of anger to crying with so much gratitude. I couldn't believe how many people were willing to do something for what they thought was me. The amount of kind, helpful messages trumped any of the negative ones, and I started to feel love coming back and filling my soul. It helped me to once again see that so many kind souls exist, and yes, there will always be the negative ones, but the good by far outweigh the bad. I spent the entire day writing back to as many people as I possibly could have, even the well-known ones, and luckily they all responded with a, "We didn't think that was you." So it was a day full of many mixed emotions, but love sure did win. This podcast episode isn't really about a silly account. It is about energy and the difference between love and fear. If we really do allow fear and negativity into our lives, we will just continue to attract it, making it difficult to be able to see any light at all. I'm so grateful to my guides for reminding me of the power of prayer. I really did beg them to intervene so that no one else that was connected to me would get caught in that web. And with their guidance and my willingness to do the work, my prayers were answered. Less than 12 hours after cutting off that dark energy, everything shifted and a tiny miracle occurred. So I want to leave you all with this today. Yes, the world is quite heavy these days. There seems to be so much negativity that is swirling out there. And yes, I did get caught in it for a short time. But thankfully, my guides led me back to where I belong, and that is in the divine white light. You may find yourself getting caught up with that icky energy out there. It happens to all of us. But try to push your way out of it and back to love and light. The more that we can do to push back, the better this world will be. Thank you all so much for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. If you do wish to book a reading with me, I can be reached at www.divinemessages.ca, and finally back on my Instagram page at Divine Messages 333, as well as at the Divine Messages podcast, and on Facebook at Divine Messages or the Divine Messages podcast. So I'm sending you all so much love and light. Let's make this world better by being loving and kind to one another. Please bear in mind that the perspectives and opinions represented in this podcast are based solely on the Divine Messages interpretations. We can in no way be held responsible for the actions of our followers.